स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। So as you know, we will be continuing our discussion on the life of Sri Ramakrishna. We've seen his birth and childhood and how his family shifted to Kamarpukur from Dere village, then how Sri Ramakrishna's elder brother went to Calcutta to search for a job and then, search for ways to earn money. Then how he set up a Sanskrit toll, that is a Sanskrit school there. Then how he called Sri Ramakrishna to Calcutta so that he could look over his younger brother and see that he started earning money, and how Sri Ramakrishna showed no interest at all in worldly matters. Then how he got appointed as a priest in the Kali temple of Dakshineshwar. And last time what we had discussed, that his return to Kamarpukur and marriage. So we'll just share some photos, just what we had seen last time. This is Sri Ramakrishna's home in Kamarpukur. This is how it looks right now. Today, this is how it looks like, because it has been taken over by the Ramakrishna Mission and it is very well maintained. This is another photo of his cottage. This is the bedroom of Sri Ramakrishna. And this is the place. This is called Bhutir Khal. So there was a crematorium just near that. And here Sri Ramakrishna would go to perform meditation at night. Bhutir Khal, and another cremation ground was on Budhi Moral. So this is Budhi Moral. Of course, in those days it was very solitary and people would not go there even in daytime for fear. So this is the banyan tree under Bhutir Khal, which we had discussed last time. And then of course his marriage, we had discussed marriage to Sarda Devi, how they had searched and searched for a bride, they could not find anywhere. Then Sri Ramakrishna told them where to go in Jairambati. And this beautiful painting of Sri Ramakrishna's marriage, because Sarda Devi was very young then, just 5 years old. This is another beautiful painting of his marriage, and you can see the fat priest. That is the very beautifully painted. Then what happened was, Sri Ramakrishna's family was not so well off, so his mother had borrowed some jewelry to put on Sarda Devi, and after the marriage that jewelry had to be returned. So her uncle, Sarda Devi's uncle, came to take her back. Then when he saw that there was no jewelry, he got very angry and he took Sarda Devi back with him to Jarambati again. So Jarambati, we had seen a few pictures. This is Banerjee's pond or Banujje Pukur as it is called. And this is Holy Mother's old thatched cottage. And Holy Mother's footprints are in this photograph. In the old thatched cottage, they are worshipped. And this is the inner courtyard of Holy Mother's house. This is the Amodar river where she used to have her bath. And this is the view of Jarambati as it is now. You can see the temple in between the trees and all that. And then we had seen how Sri Ramakrishna had gone to Shihar, that is Hriday's house. This is Hriday's house in Shihar. This is the outside of the house. And here we had seen Sri Ramakrishna's writing which is preserved there, and the cot on which Sri Ramakrishna had stayed there. So we had seen all this. So now let us come to today's topic. So today we will start the incredible story of Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual journey. We will start means it is not possible to finish the talk, finish it in one talk. Even if we discuss it very, very briefly, then also it will take at least 2 discussions. And actually each sadhana of his requires a separate talk. So now we are doing just in brief. So afterwards we can take it up in detail. But today we will start. So today what we will discuss is his sadhana of the tantras. There are 64 tantras, as you may be knowing. So many misconceptions attach themselves to tantras, that all sorts of weird things are there, and those are not meant for ordinary people, and those don't have any efficacy now. All these things are there. But Sri Ramakrishna's practices showed us that even in this age, if what are mentioned in the tantras, if they are still practiced in the correct way, they will produce the result now also. Sri Ramakrishna had shown that. So one is we will discuss his practices, major practices of all the 64 tantras. What is the major practices given there? And then we will discuss his practice of choosing his practice when he chose Sri Ramachandra as his chosen deity. So that is called in the books it is mentioned as practice of Ram Lala. Ram Lala means child Rama, like Gopala is child Krishna. So Ram Lala is child Rama. So we will discuss these two. That one is practices mentioned in the tantras under Bhairavi Brahmani, and practice of Sri Ramachandra as the chosen deity under the great monk Jatadhari. Jata, matted hair, that is called Jata. So one who has matted hair is called Jatadhari. So, and the next time we can discuss the other ones like Christianity, Islam, and so now we have seen that Sri Ramakrishna had gone to Kamarpukur because his mother had got very worried. All the sorts of stories were going there. Your son has gone mad. All day he shouts, mother, mother, mother. So there he went to Kamarpukur, got married, and he seemed to be normal. But after coming to Dakshineshwar, he stayed in Kamarpukur, Jarambati together about 1.5 years. Then after coming to Dakshineshwar, again the same thing happened. I mean, practically there was no improvement. Again he was seized with the madness of God realization. He forgot everything. his marriage, his parents, his homestead, everything. Again, people thought that he was acting like a crazy person. So Mathur Babu, we have already discussed his life. So Mathur Babu got worried that what has happened. Then again he put him under the treatment of doctors. So first was Kaviraj Ganga Prasad. Kaviraj means Ayurvedic treatment, but there was no result. And another famous physician was called. So this physician was one of the first to find out that Sri Ramakrishna actually was not crazy or he didn't have any disease, but he found out that this was the after effect of yogic practices and no medicines could cure that. So the first doctor to find out, gauge actually what was happening. We have discussed in our previous talk. He was the first to diagnose that Sri Ramakrishna actually was inebriated with a divine emotion. There was nothing wrong with him. And this doctor also said that what Sri Ramakrishna was experiencing now was the after effects of yogic practices. Such intense was the practice that ordinary people cannot even imagine. What ordinary people, even great sadhakas, cannot even imagine the type of experiences which Sri Ramakrishna had, the type of austerities he practiced. It was nothing like anything seen before. That is the thing. So we are very lucky that we have in Sri Ramakrishna's own words, because he had described his practices many times to his disciples. So there are various descriptions. So we will just, one or two important, we will just see the quotations from his own words, the divine madness which he passed through and the types of austerities he performed during this period. We must remember that this period he had already had the vision of Divine Mother. He had already attained that supreme realization. But there was no end to the various forms and gods and goddesses he saw and the various realizations he had. So I will quote his own words from the book Sri Ramakrishna and his Divine Play, or Sri Ramakrishna the Great Master. There are two translations. So he said about this state, no sooner was one state transcended than another took its place. Before that whirlwind means spiritual emotions, they were like a whirlwind. The sacred thread was blown away. Sacred thread means that which Brahmins put in India. So he has no consciousness of the body actually. In the Panchavati, I would sit in deep meditation with my body perfectly still, losing all consciousness of the outer world. At that time, for want of proper care, my hair was matted. Birds would perch on my head and peck the grains of rice left there during the time of worship. Often snakes would crawl over my motionless body, and neither I nor the snake knew it. Snake thought it was a statue or something dead, no movement at all. Oh, what visions flitted past my eyes day and night. As I sat down to meditate, I would find a monk emerging from my body with a trishul. Trishul means that which Shiva holds, with a trishul in his hand and directing me to concentrate my mind on God, leaving aside all other thoughts. He threatened to plunge his weapon into my body if I did not do so. An ordinary man could not have borne a fraction of such tremendous fervor, his body would have been shattered by a quarter of that emotion. Because all our emotions, they react on the body. Whether it is grief or joy or whatever. When we are sad, the body also becomes tired. So what happens is, if the emotions are of a tremendous, they are really very strong, then the reaction on the body is also very strong. That we know that sometimes in grief, people faint because their bodies cannot stand that. So he says that is why an ordinary person, the spiritual emotions which he had experienced, he said that ordinary person, even a fraction of that emotion, his body would have been completely shattered. So these incarnations are possessed with a special mind and a special body also to house that mind. Because an ordinary body will be completely destroyed by that reaction, it cannot stand. That is the thing. That is why he says, an ordinary person could not have borne even a fraction of those emotions, that tremendous fervor. I could forget my indescribable pangs only by seeing the mother in some form or the other for the greater part of the day and night. So it was a 24 hours experience of his plane. Mind was 24 hours in that plane, which an ordinary person, even for 1 minute if he gets, he is known as a saint. So nobody can imagine that. Once when Swami Vivekananda was tremendous yearning, he was seized for God realization when Sri Ramakrishna was in Kashipur. So one night, Swami Vivekananda went round and round the building in the divine ecstasy, chanting the name of Rama, whole night. So Sri Ramakrishna said that what Naren is possessed of, that divine yearning, is wonderful. But then he said, no doubt it is wonderful, but in comparison with the yearning which came over this, then he pointed to his own body. Well, in comparison, that is nothing. Because after all, God is God. So now he performed various kinds of sadhanas. So one which is very important and which deserves our attention and very interesting also was that he wanted to banish all attachment to wealth and pride of superior birth from his mind. So what did he do? He used to sit on the bank of the Ganga and he used to take some earth in one hand and a few coins in the other. And mentally he would weigh their value. And he would pass them from one hand to another. So actually he was discriminating. So what did he discriminate? He said to himself that money can at best only give a comfortable living and some facility for other things which we need. That is all. But it cannot give realization of God, which is the only thing worth having in life. So as far as God realization is concerned, both money and earth are of the same value. Because just like earth is useless for attaining God realization, similarly money is also useless in that way. It may be necessary for maintaining our body, for that it is necessary, correct. But if we give too much importance to that, then it becomes as useless as a clod of earth after a certain time. So, discriminating in this way, he threw both the coins and that piece of clay into the Ganga. So, throwing means what? Throwing means they are of no use to me. I renounce it. That is the thing. and for the complete effacement, because he was a Brahmin by caste. So Brahmins, even now in India, so much, in some areas there is so much pride. Like even amongst Brahmins, they have, divisions. Like some Brahmins consider themselves superior to other Brahmins also. Mana, it is absolutely crazy. So this type of pride and haughtiness is absolutely very inimical to spiritual life. So he wanted to give up the pride of that also, and he would go to the sweeper who was there, who used to live in Dakshineshwar, scavenger, Rasik. And at night when nobody was there, he would go and clean his washroom and all that and tell himself that I am even lower than this person. Mother, efface all pride of caste from my mind. So gradually what happened, this renunciation became the very breath of his life, and it became a sort of, it went so deep into his consciousness that afterwards he could not even bear the touch of metal, because metal means coin, coins means money. So even the touch of metal he could not stand. That was the thing. So any idea of material possession produced a terrible pain in his mind and body. So once a rich merchant had come there in Dakshineshwar, Lakshmi Narayan. So he offered Sri Ramakrishna a huge amount of money. It is written that 10,000 rupees. At that time it was something. So Sri Ramakrishna afterwards said, when he mentioned that, I felt that somebody was cutting my head in half, sawing my head. So that kind of pain he experienced at the very thought of possessing any material things. That is the thing. So this was the state when at which his mind was. And now came, by God's will, to teach him the practice of tantras, a very, very advanced sadhika, one who was very advanced in meditation and spiritual realization by her practices of disciplines under the Vaishnava tradition. And also tantras, she was very much versed. That young lady's name was Bhairavi Brahmani. So it is described, it's a very big story. We can take it up later when we discuss all the events in detail. So one morning in 1861 means 36 he was born. So he was about 25 years old that time, Sri Ramakrishna. No. Yeah, 40, 21 and 4, 25, yeah. So Sri Ramakrishna was plucking flowers one day in the garden of Dakshineshwar, and he saw a boat coming towards the bathing ghat. And he saw that a middle-aged, beautiful Bhairavi sannyasini, she was a nun with long hair, she stepped out of the boat. Although Bhairavi Brahmani was about 40 years old at that time, but she looked much younger. So Sri Ramakrishna, as soon as he saw her, he told Hriday that, tell this Brahmani that I am calling her. So Hriday said, you are calling her? Why should she come to you? Who are you to her that you will call her and she will come? So Sri Ramakrishna said, don't worry, she will come. You just tell me that I am calling. Just tell her that I am calling. So Hriday went and told the Brahmani that the master was calling him. So she immediately went to Sri Ramakrishna. And what did she say? She was overwhelmed with emotion when she saw Sri Ramakrishna, as if when someone meets very near and dear someone. So she was overwhelmed with emotion and told him, you are here. I have been searching for you for so long. And now I have found you. Through the grace of the Divine Mother, I had come to know that I was to meet 3 persons to teach them. The other two persons were Chandra and Girija. That also, their names have been mentioned in the Leela Prasanga, and they had acquired some supernatural powers also. So, Bhairavi Brahmani was instructed in a divine vision to meet Chandra, Girija and Sri Ramakrishna. So, she had already met Chandra and Girija, and Sri Ramakrishna was the third. Chandra and Girija was then in East Bengal, what is known as Bangladesh. So then she told all about herself. She was born in a Brahmin family in Bengal and was well versed in the Vaishnava as well as Tantric literature. Vaishnava, Vaishnava means followers of Vishnu. So she was a devotee of a very high order, and her intense spiritual practices had bestowed on her wonderful realizations, and this prompted her to find suitable spiritual aspirants to whom she could transmit those experiences, the spiritual illumination which she had. And Sri Ramakrishna also knew that the Bhairavi had come by the will of the Divine Mother. So he opened his heart to her and related all his experiences, because he knew that this person would understand. Telling it to anybody is of no use. People would think he was crazy and all that. So he also told her this, that people thought that he was crazy because his actions were so unlike any other person. So hearing all this, Bhairavi Brahmani said, "My son, who calls you mad? This is not madness, this is not insanity. What you are experiencing is called Mahabhav." So Bhava means spiritual emotions. And Mahabhav is an extraordinary state of religious ecstasy. So it is said in the scriptures that only Radha, Sri Ramakrishna's companion Radha and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, only they could experience Mahabhav, nobody else. So she told Sri Ramakrishna this, that all these things are recorded in the texts of the Bhakti schools. The Bhakti scriptures contain all this. So why she said, because if Sri Ramakrishna knew that his experiences were mentioned in the scriptures, then he would have no fear of that he was mad or something. Then he would know that very great sadhakas, they experience those spiritual emotions. So she said, I will show you those books and those experiences which are mentioned there, so that you will have no doubt. So now I will, because of course Bhairavi Brahmani, we don't have any photograph, but again there are very beautiful paintings by the great Vishwaranjan Chakravarti. So I will just share those photographs. First, of course, we all know that Sri Ramakrishna was in Dakshineshwar at that time, and where he performed sadhana, that place was called Panchavati. So, first I will share some pictures of Dakshineshwar, you all know, but Panchavati, those who have not gone there, so here you can see a picture of Dakshineshwar from the Ganga. So unfortunately, Panchavati is all gone now. It's such a tragedy. That is what happens when material, people who are attached to material things, they take over these religious establishments. So Dakshineshwar, as it is not under Ramakrishna mission, it will never be, most probably. So those people, maybe just to earn money, there was a huge stretch. Those who have gone to Dakshineshwar, they know that in front of the temple, it was all a sort of mini jungle only. That had trees had grown very big, and there was branches all around. And all those places were there where Sri Ramakrishna had practiced Vedanta Sadhana. That cottage and all was there. I myself have seen that. Unfortunately, after I was just seeing the map, everything is gone now. They have constructed some modern house, and I mean, what can you say? Those things are gone forever. So we can just see the old Panchavati through pictures now. So we will just see some pictures. This is one of the oldest pictures of Panchavati we have. That is 1896 this was taken. This photograph. So we will see of various time frames. This was taken in 1930. This photograph was taken in 1930 of the Panchavati. So we can see how dense it was even then. This was taken just 5 years later in 1935. This one, 1935. Then this one in 1950s. This color photo, this was in 1950s. And this is the recent one which was in 1977. So till very recently everything was there. I mean, people would have gone and saw that, but now we just have to see in pictures. Now two very beautiful paintings of Bhairavi Brahmani instructing Sri Ramakrishna. So this we can see here, one. This is from a book printed by Chennai Mutt. Of course, it's all imagination. And this is a wonderful painting by the one and only Vishwaranjan. This is absolutely brilliant. The facial expression of Sri Ramakrishna, he was an extraordinary artist. I mean, simply unbelievable. So, and then we will see there is a place called Ariada. Ariada is just a few miles from Dakshineshwar. So Bhairavi Brahmani had come to Dakshineshwar, but she could not stay there. So what she used to do is she settled down in Ariada, and every day she would come and make Sri Ramakrishna perform all those things. So we will read about that, and that place we will see now where she lived. That place is still there. This is the place. This is called Devan Dataram Mandal Ghat. So this Devan Dataram Mandal Ghat is still there, and Bhairavi Brahmani stayed here. From there she used to go walking to Dakshineshwar, and so again there are some photographs left, we will see later. So now let us come back to Bhairavi Brahmani and Sri Ramakrishna. So whenever Bhairavi Brahmani used to come and talk to Sri Ramakrishna on spiritual matters, she would see that Sri Ramakrishna would immediately go into ecstasy. Immediately his mind would transcend the ordinary world. So that was something absolutely unbelievable. And she observed that in this and in other things also there was a great similarity between Chaitanya, who is known as an incarnation of God, and Sri Ramakrishna. There were many similarities. Why? First, as soon as Kirtan used to be sung, means God's name and praises, like Chaitanya, Sri Ramakrishna would go into ecstasy. Then like Chaitanya, Sri Ramakrishna had the power to awaken somebody's spiritual consciousness by a touch only. That ordinary people can never even think of doing. So when she saw all these things, then she was convinced that like Chaitanya, Sri Ramakrishna also was an incarnation of God. And one particular incident was so similar that it convinced Bhairavi Brahmani thoroughly that Sri Ramakrishna was actually God incarnate. What was that incident? Sri Ramakrishna had been suffering for a long time from a burning sensation all over his body. So people thought that this was some disease and doctors were called and, like we apply some sort of cream or something, some applications may have been done, but nothing helped. So what was the cause of that burning? Nobody could find out. So what did Bhairavi Brahmani do? She found a similar incident in Chaitanya's life. Chaitanya also suffered from this burning sensation. What was the cause? The cause was his terrible anguish for God vision. Because when the mind experiences tremendous emotion, that reacts on the body also. So his body used to burn because his mind was also burning for God. And how did Chaitanya get cured of this? It was a very extraordinary method that if he smeared his body with sandal paste and he wore a garland around his neck, then she read that, then Chaitanya was cured of that burning sensation. Now she thought of trying the same thing on Sri Ramakrishna, because she was convinced that Sri Ramakrishna's burning was also caused by this emotion only, longing for God vision. So wonder of wonders that when Sri Ramakrishna's body was smeared with sandal paste and a garland was put around his neck, his burning sensation went away. So this convinced Bhairavi Brahmani that Sri Ramakrishna was God incarnate. Now this pronouncement, we can imagine that what sort of reaction it had in Dakshineshwar. That this crazy fellow, we all thought he was mad. Not only is he supposed to be a great saint, but this Bhairavi is telling he is God in human form. So when Mathur was asked, Bhairavi Brahmani told Mathur also, although Mathur was very devoted to Sri Ramakrishna, even he found this difficult to digest. That he is okay, he is a saint, everything, but God incarnate. Naturally, if someone amongst us, if someone says God incarnate, I mean, we will look at that with skepticism. So Bhairavi said, okay, you don't believe me. Okay. I will call renowned scholars to Dakshineshwar. Show them the scriptures. Tell them to examine Sri Ramakrishna's state. And then let them judge whether Sri Ramakrishna is an incarnation of God or not. So, long story is there, we will not go to that because very little time is there. So, just mention the few scholars who came. One was Vaishnava Charan. He was one of the leaders of Vaishnava society and was reputed for his knowledge of various philosophies and devotional scriptures. Another was Gaurikanta Tark Bhushan. He was a famed scholar and a great sadhaka also of the Tantrika school. So all these people came and there was a meeting. So all these people, Brahmani convinced, this Bhairavi Brahmani convinced through the scriptures and through Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual states that Sri Ramakrishna was God incarnate. And this Gauri Kanta, he was so impressed. See, he went even further. He said, I am firmly convinced, he said to Sri Ramakrishna, I am convinced that you are that mine of infinite spiritual power, only a small fraction which comes in the world from time to time in the form of incarnation. So he went even further. I mean, we cannot imagine what these things mean. So now at least Sri Ramakrishna was convinced that he was not crazy. And others were also convinced. So now after this, Sri Ramakrishna undertook the course of Tantric Sadhana under the guidance of the Brahmani. And again, we are very lucky that we have Sri Ramakrishna's own words. So he said, the Brahmani would go during the day and to places far from Dakshineshwar and collect the various rare things mentioned in the Tantrika scriptures, because many things are needed for Tantra practices and ritual. And all those things are performed at night, those practices. So at nightfall, she would ask me to come to one of the meditation seats. I would go, and after performing the worship of Mother Kali, I would begin to meditate according to her directions. As soon as I would begin to tell my beads means that japamala, I would always be overwhelmed with divine fervor and fall into deep ecstasy. I cannot relate all the varieties of wonderful visions which I used to have. They followed one another in quick succession, and the effects of those practices I could feel tangibly. So the Brahmani put me through all the exercises mentioned in the 64 principal tantras. Most of these were extremely difficult sadhanas, but through the infinite grace of the Divine Mother, I successfully performed all of these. And these fiery ordeals which he passed through established him on a very, very high level of spirituality. And the Brahmani declared that this divine disciple of hers had attained perfection in the system of yoga and had passed through all the tests successfully. So this is a very long story, but we will now go to the other one which we will discuss today. That is his practice of spiritual disciplines, accepting the child Rama as his chosen deity. That is the practice of Ram Lala, that sadhana. So this was in 1864. We had seen that Bhairavi Brahmani had come in 1861. So in 1864, a great Vaishnava devotee, Jatadhari by name, came to Dakshineshwar. He was a wandering monk, they go from place to place, and he was a devotee of Sri Ramachandra. So the master said that Jatadhari's love and yearning for God were peerless, without comparison. He was such a great soul who had attained perfection. He was a lifelong devotee of Ram Lala. Ram Lala means the child Rama, and that image he carried everywhere. Like Mirabai had an image of Sri Krishna. So Ram Lala was his chosen deity. And by long meditation and worship, Jatadhari had made great spiritual progress and had been blessed with the vision of the living form of Ram. So people thought that he just carried a metal image with him. We will see that image is still there. So people just thought that this fellow is just carrying a metal image of Rama like everybody does. But they did not know that Jatadhari had the living vision of Rama in that image, that Rama used to laugh and talk and do everything like an ordinary child. The divine child did all those things. That is on the absolutely spiritual level. not on the physical level. All these things happen on the spiritual level. So people could not see that naturally, but Sri Ramakrishna was the peerless master of all the spiritual moods. So as soon as he saw that image, he also saw that as living. Then he also realized that this person was not an ordinary person. And like Jatadhari, Sri Ramakrishna also had that vision of Ramlala. So Jatadhari was such a great saint. How that effulgent form of Lord Rama had become a living presence. He actually found that Rama took the food which he offered, that Rama played with him, Rama did it sports with him. So he was engaged day and night in the service of that image. And because of that high spiritual experiences, he was always in supreme bliss, because his mind was always on that level, experiencing God constantly. I mean, unbelievable. So to him that image was actually living. And of course the master also now could see all the actions of the divine Ramlala. So he also now used to spend the whole day with Jatadhari and watch that Ramlala play and do all his sports. So days began to pass in this way. And slowly the master said that Ramlala, that young child Rama, also became very intimate with the master. So again I quote Sri Ramakrishna himself. He says, I saw Ramlala as vividly as I see you all. Now dancing gracefully before me, now springing on my back, or insisting on being taken up in my arms. Like we used to take we used to take in that lap, no? So he also insisted that Sri Ramakrishna take him on his lap. Sometimes I would hold him on my lap. He would not remain there, but would run to the fields in the sun, pluck flowers from the thorny bushes, or jump into the Ganga. When chastised, he would fix his beautiful eyes on me and smile. Or like a naughty boy, he would go on with his pranks, or make faces at me, just like a small child does. Sometimes I lost patience and slapped him. Then he would look at me with tearful eyes and trembling lips. Then I would take him in my lap and console him. All these things actually happened. This Sri Ramakrishna said. And then one day what happened? That Jatadhari came to me weeping and said, Ramlala out of his infinite grace has fulfilled my desire. He has revealed himself to me in the form I prefer. But he has told me that he will not go leaving you behind. So that Ramlala told Jatadhari that he will stay in Dakshineshwar now. So I shall gladly leave him with you and go away. It gladdens my heart to think that he is happy in your company. With these words, Jatadhari left Ramlala with me and bade farewell to Dakshineshwar. Ever since, Ramlala has been here in Dakshineshwar. So fortunately, he was there, so that image is still there most probably, and at least its photograph is there. So I will just share that. So this is that photograph. You can all see here. This image is made up of 8 kind of metals. So it is called an 8 metal image of Ramlala. So this was the image which Jatadhari had carried. Just imagine. And which Sri Ramakrishna had seen as living. So it is really unbelievable, all these things. So now to conclude, we cannot go into detail as I have told you. So After these two, after the sadhanas under Bhairavi Brahmani and the sadhanas under Jatadhari, Sri Ramakrishna practiced all the different phases of devotion laid down in the scriptures of the Vaishnavas. There are various ways. What are the ways? Those ways are defined by the way in which a spiritual aspirant relates himself to God. For devotion to become very deep, we have to have established a particular relation with God. And those relations are of four types. Four kinds of relations have been mentioned in the Vaishnava devotional scriptures. What are those relations? So according to the Vaishnava path, those are first Shanta Bhava. Shanta Bhava means the calm or serene attitude. That is called the Shanta Bhava. So it is said in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, it is said that some great sages had met Sri Ramchandra when he was in the jungle. He had been sent to Vanavasa and all that. So they said to Sri Ramakrishna that we adore you in the Shanta Bhava. So calm or serene attitude. The second is Dasya Bhava. Dasya Bhava means when the aspirant thinks of himself as the servant and thinks of God as his master. So I am the servant, you are the master. That bhava is illustrated in the life of Hanumana. Hanuman, was very greatly devoted to Sri Ramachandra. Then next comes Vatsalya Bhava. Vatsalya Bhava means when the aspirant thinks himself as a mother or father and thinks of God as his or her child. So Yashoda, Shri Krishna's mother, is supposed to be the ideal of that bhava. Then finally, the third one is Sakhya Bhava, or the attitude of a friend. When a devotee thinks that he is God's friend. So that attitude was practiced by the friends of Sri Krishna in Vrindavan. Sri Krishna was a cowherd, in Vrindavan. So all the gopis were his friends. So that attitude they entertained, the attitude of Krishna as my friend, God as my friend. And the last is Madhura Bhava. Madhura Bhava is the attitude of a lover. So that attitude was entertained by Radha. She saw God as her lover. So all these things we read in the scriptures, people say that, are these historical figures or not? Because Radha is not at all mentioned in the Bhagavata. This is something to note. Bhagavata Puran is the most authoritative not in that sense, those are not factual incidents. But in the Puranas, that is the most detailed life of Krishna in the Bhagavata. But Radha is not mentioned there at all. So people say, was Radha a historical figure? She is not mentioned. But they don't understand that these things they are not a part of history as much as a part of the spiritual realm. These figures, whether they existed or not, actually that is not the important point. The important point is what they denote, what they stand for in the field of spirituality. So Hanuman was a monkey. Now monkeys built the bridge from India to Lanka. That is a little too much to believe. But we have to see what those things stand for. So Hanumana here stands for that attitude, that how a person who follows that attitude should be devoted to God. Now without a living example we cannot have that imagination. So they give us that example. See the life of Hanuman. how a person who treats God as his lover should be devoted to God. See the example of Radha. She saw Krishna everywhere. When she could not see Krishna, she would yearn for him. All those things are mentioned. So these lives are mentioned as spiritual ideals. That is the thing. So those who with a particular attitude, any attitude, can find a corresponding ideal in the scriptures. And that ideal which will serve as his guide. That is the significance of all these characters. In this light, the scriptures like Puranas, etc., have to be studied. Not that you have to do a research in which year Sri Ramakrishna crossed over to Lanka, how many monkeys he had with him, what kind of bridge was built. That is not the purpose. And people go on fighting over all this. That is the problem. So just a few photos of these characters which are in the Puranas and the which you have just mentioned now. Most of you know, but still I'm just sharing. So this is Hanumana. So here you can see this story. I think most of you know that Hanumana tore his chest open. What actually is the story behind it? The story is that the court of Sri Ramakrishna was going on. All the courtiers and Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Ramchandra were sitting with Sita ji and all that. So what happened? Sita ji gave a pearl necklace to Hanumana as a gift. So Hanuman took it. Then what did he do? To the discomfiture of everybody present in the court, he bit one pearl, saw what was in it, nothing, threw it the pearl. Again one pearl he took, bit it, nothing, threw. Again he kept on doing this. People thought, what sacrilege. Sita ji has given him this present and he is this monkey. What does he know the value of pearls? He is throwing away all these things. Sri Ramachandra will naturally be very angry. But Sri Ram was Sri Ram. He knew what is going on inside Hanuman's mind. So he asked Hanuman, why are you throwing away those pearls? Sita ji asked Hanuman, why are you throwing away those pearls? Sita ji had given him that necklace. So he said to Sita ji that I am seeing whether Rama is there or not in the pearls. But I cannot find Sri Rama, so I am throwing away all these. They are of no use to me. So Sita ji said, oh, is that it? But you have not thrown away your body. You are still living in your body. So is Ram residing in your body? Then it's just a story. So in the court, Hanuman tore apart his heart. And everybody could see Sri Ram and Sita in his heart. So this shows that he always felt the presence of. So these are the ideal. I mean, these are guidance for us that whatever is not Sri Rama, whatever is not God, has to be discarded. And it is only God who should have a place in our hearts, nothing else at all. That is the thing. So there is a bhajan also you must have heard. Balidi knows all bhajans. चीर के छाती बोले अपनी पवन पुत्र हनुमान मेरे मन में बसे है राम मेरे तन में बसे है राम. You must have heard it, Balidi. No? This has been sung by Anup Jalota. Yeah. Afterwards we will sing. Let me finish the talk here. So, this is Yashoda and Krishna, we can see. Very beautiful painting. And this is another great example of worshipping God as one's friend. The whole story is there. This is the story of Krishna Sudama. So Gopis were there, but Sudama was the epitome. I mean, it was the height of devotion. So this is Sri Ram Krishna, this is Krishna washing Sudama's feet. So God is serving his devotees. So Abhaji, you may have heard of that fantastic poem regarding this. It's an absolutely beautiful poem that when Sudama came to Sri Krishna, he was a very poor Brahmin. Sri Krishna was the king of Dwarka and all that. So Sudama comes and that gatekeeper is asking him, whom do you want to see? I want to see Krishna. Huh? This poor fellow, his torn clothes and he doesn't have any, no slippers also on his feet. He was walking all the way from his home and he wants to see Krishna, the king. So that doorman ran to Krishna and then he told about Sudama. That is a beautiful poem. That how it begins, I'm forgetting. शीश पगान जगातन में प्रभु जान को आही बसे के ही ग्रामा धोती फटी सी लटी दुपट्टी और पाय उपानहु की नहीं सामा द्वार खड़ो द्विज दुर्बल एक रहो चकित अभिरामा, something like that. Then the last one, पूछत दीन दयाल को धाम बतावत आपनो नाम सुदामा. So द्वार खड़ो एक दुर्बल लेग. See, a very thin person is standing there. He has no shoes on his feet and nothing too decent to wear. And what is he doing? पूछत दीन दयाल को धाम. That where is God? And what is Batavat Apno Naam Sudama? So it's a wonderful poem. Let me search for it and then we can discuss it in detail.
The rice portion, Krishna.
Yeah, that he had brought that rice here. So anyway, there is no end. No, Chattuna, Chidwa. So anyway, there is no end to these wonderful discussion. There are so many stories in our scriptures, but we cannot go on forever. So let us end here today. Let me stop sharing this. So we have discussed in the briefest way possible Sri Ramakrishna's practice of the Tantric Sadhana and Sadhana of the Ram Lala. So we can devote one more discussion easily to Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual practices and we can discuss 3 other practices. After the sadhana of Ram Lala, he practiced Vedanta sadhana under Totapuri. Then he practiced Christianity. Then he practiced Islam. So when we discuss his life again, we can take those up. So let us end today because we've got to practice some songs for the function which is next week and some discussions also. So this much for today then. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna